A little bit of a timer for
Tiny bit.
LDLC. Want to see them being proactive this game. You have picked essentially two assassins, right? You've got Ahri and Qiyana, very mobile, have a lot of game, or you have a lot of playmaking potential in, not necessarily the early game, but after the level 6 mark. You know, look for Spirit Rush to land on a charm, catch out any stragglers with Supreme Display of Talent thanks to your control of terrain. But LDLC, because you have something like a Gwen who's not that proactive early on in the laning phase against someone like Kennen who should have the priority shove thanks to the range, you, as LDLC, have to be careful on the top side of the map.
And already a bit of deep vision is coming through here. I do like this from GameWard because you talked about it, Mark. Qiyana, the earlier parts of the game isn't very strong, not at her first clear. So if Akabane does have that inkling of where, oh, hold on a second, Aka's in trouble, baby. Oh, they're actually going to steal the
gets
buff.
out alive, but they...
I think that's really nice.
This is a little difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a really nice play. You end up taking the blue from Yike, and the thing now is, do you just try and 50-50 or do you let it go?
Now, Yike really suffers on the first clear. Lee Sin, even though he won't get a leash from his bot lane, he doesn't need one. It's very easy for him to solo the first camp either with Safeguard Iron Will or Sonic Wave.
True.
Whereas Yike, that first clear, if he has to solo it, it is brutal, which is why they have to pull DOS to give him a little bit of an extra edge.
Oh my
However,
God.
Ica, okay.
Wow. Not respecting the early poke, I think, from the W. And wow, it ends up getting the flash out from Jackalad. You traded for the Ignite, but ultimately very positive. And you're right. So one after another here as, wow, we're panning away from that fight, huh? Oh, it's because Jackalad's
just
dead.
flash forward.
Yeah, there it is.
Solo Bolo, baby. First blood for Ikazari.
That's right. Already right off the bat, you're seeing the laning power of the new Ahri and how strong she can be in the first few minutes here, forcing Jackalad to TP right away. And effectively, he had no money to spend, so he's coming back to lane just like he left it, Mark, and that's going to give a really easy reset to come through here. So now, Akabane, who is already on this top side of the map, going for looking like a 4-camp clear, could very well look to try and invade Yike's red buff, because even though he's made it up here again, the early dueling power of this Qiyana isn't very high, and with Aka resetting, this would be a pretty good window.
I'm actually surprised that Yike has managed to somewhat outpace Akabane in the first clear, because and whether that is due to DOS just staying a little bit longer to help him with that first buff, because it just goes to show that Yike has definitely put in a lot of games onto the Qiyana and has perfected this clear, because Akabane trying to look for the invade, doesn't spawn him at the red buff, could potentially look to fight him at these Krugs here, but Yike is playing respectfully, pulling the Krugs as far towards the turret as possible, and Akabane not going to get it.
Yeah, that was a really good ward there. I assume placed by Melanic, so it did give the sights onto Yike, but it's as you say, Yike being able to get there is such a big deal, because that early window Akabane had to really try and punish the first clear doesn't end up coming through. You slow down the full clear a bit more, but with top pushed in where it is, and even though I say you can try and pressure Gwen, I think Lee Sin is going to have a bit of trouble at the moment diving the Gwen right away, so they're just going to end up letting that one go. And what that means is now LDLC can kind of have that slower early game that they were potentially hoping for here. And you can see it with the fact that Ragnar is doing fine in farm. Yike manages to safely finish his first clear and go for the reset. Now that he's back on the map with the double longsword, now things can get a little spicy.
Yeah, some of the early windows that you had mentioned before that GameWard can look for before they play for the more later parts of the game with this scaling double marksman backline in Corki and Jinx. It was Akabane trying to see if he could invade onto Yike's Qiyana. Doesn't find it. And so now Yike is a little bit stronger in the early skirmishes, still doesn't have access to the Supreme Display of Talent, but it's going to be more difficult for Akabane to find advantages.
And Yike, even though GameWard, we're talking about how they are definitely one of the better teams in the league, definitely on that top of the ladder, especially because they're in third place at the moment here. Yike is someone who a lot of us talk about as being one of the best early game junglers in the league. Now we're seeing him on a different pick, different than what we've been seeing besides the big three on this Qiyana. So he's really trying to solidify himself here with the flexibility and champ picks. And now, oh my god, Aka, he's looking for the charm. Won't be able to actually find it here. So now Akabane, a jungler we talk about who's also quite good in the early game. We need to see it, Mark. Level 4, not very much. Lee Sin is one of those junglers where, hey man, once level 3 comes through, I want to see you in a lane. I want to see you doing something, trying to pressure somebody here. But it just feels like GameWard and Akabane himself don't have many options.
We expected GameWard to be playing towards Inax in the bottom lane. One of the highest kill participations for any AD in the league. Oh, but they're just looking for Chekolad, knowing that he still doesn't have flash available. A lot of skill shots were mixed, but they got a majority of the damage down from LDLC. Another kill for Ika.
And it is just brutal because now means he can recall Ika. Surely you can't truly believe. Oh wait. Oh, okay, it was a bait. He had the corrupting potion. All right, nice. Nicely played. So he will have enough to be able to show this.
Yeah, Yike was waiting in the wings outside of Fog of War, or I guess outside of vision range for Akabane. LDLC kind of playing with their food a little bit, but just great also punishing the small window because Chocolate literally just one more minute and Flash would have been up.
Right, keeping track of summoners, being able to capitalize on when they're expended is such a big deal here, and this is why we praise LDLC. It's one of the best teams in the league here, and quite the hurdle to climb for GameWard, or really anybody else. And it's been tough. We know we talk about how Chekolad is going to scale. He is playing this Corki pick, so later in the game is where we're going to see a lot of this value. But so far, being punished this hard early is certainly going to hurt him here. And although now, since we're on 12-3, having to index into the Hex Drinker, it doesn't suck as much as it used to, since now we have those fighter items changes come through. Evolve Malmortius is now quite good. So is Death's Dance.
It does delay the tier stacking though for Chekolad, which Muramana being a huge power spike for Corki in the mid-late game. You get so much damage and so much effective, I don't want to say utility because it's not like what we consider traditional utility, but anytime you're able to push out people away from an objective or push them off a turret in a defense and siege situation, I consider that utility because you're not necessarily killing the opponent, but you're forcing them back.
Yeah, and I mean, that is one of the big appeals of Corki. Outside the package, it's just the fact that you do damage probably from the longest range, I think, aside probably like tied only with Jace with those empowered shock blasts. So just with those rockets and how you're able to poke people out from range, especially with the new build coming through where you do build the Ludens instead of something like the Divine Thunder or the Shield Bow, does offer a lot of value and probably still will later on. Like you can already see they're doing a decent amount of damage to the 2-0 Aka. But the thing is, Aka has help, Mark. He's got the homies nearby. Doss is here with him to make sure he can shove out this wave. And what does that mean? Level 6 Yike on this Kiana is going to be able to go ahead and take the Rift Herald here. And even though that ward is there, it's going to be taken out. You don't necessarily have the option to fight for it. I see things coming through, though. You do have Chameleus on the way who's level 6. You do have access to a lot of ultimates. So maybe this is the window for GameWard.
However, LDLC now have access to Spirit Rush, Supreme Display of Talent, so depending on where GameWard are. If they were feeling a little bold, that's a
they're looking.
Point. Just go for it right here.
Look
Slights and Maelstrom will be a great counter response. Can they find enough damage, though, from GameWard? Ragnar tearing up through them right now. The needlework will pierce right through multiple members. Akabane does answer with a double kill before he goes down, but the advantage going over to LDLC.
Still, I like the attempt there from GameWard. Melanik, this is what we need to see him do. Make use of that flash and the slicing Maelstrom. Unfortunately, not able to lock down Aka. The thing that's so nice about Ari, that Spirit Rush makes her really hard to lock down if you don't immediately get some CC on her. Because of it, was able to output a lot of damage. Is now sitting on double buffs, actually, which Chekolad's probably not feeling too excited about. I'm sure you've experienced something similar, Mark, even though I know you're borderline a jungle one-trick.
I see an Ari with 4-0 on the enemy team. I'm like, bro,
what happened?
How did we let this come to pass? Guys, we had one mission. Don't let the Ari snowball.
Yeah.
And for GameWard, I want to go back to what a majority of their games and their win cons were. It was snowballing Inax and getting him ahead. Now, he has been left alone for the most part, and LDLC, they have never they didn't necessarily play to exit kick, and they were fine to leave him on an island, but I thought that maybe GameWard would want to try and set up dives. You have this Nautilus to make that easier, but do something similar to what Misfits Premier did to C-Core in their opening match just you know, one game ago. However, oh no!
My. Well, at least Checo has tier stacking now, right, Mark? Copium? No?
Copium.
I feel like that's really the only thing he's got. He's got to be. Oh no! Oh no!
Oh, Yike needs to be feared and respected on the map. Supreme Display of Talent is available once again. Camelius and Inax have to back away from this turret. Solar Flare.
Will they? Oh.
Slightly connects. Oh, beautiful Supreme Display of Talent. Catches two. Immediately forces both Flash and Cleanse out of Inax. And now, GameWard, they are not only losing tempo, they're losing advantage in one of the lanes that they've usually played towards in the past as well.
You know what, though? I think the thing that's I think the positive side here for GameWard, because you talk about playing to enable Inax, and it's definitely true, and how part of how they do like to play the game. He's usually popping off on things like the Jhin, really good at setting up for his team, finding a lot of picks and such with the curtain call. But I think he's doing all right, all things considered. I mean, he's down 18 CS, but he's going to be in time to catch a big chunk of that wave. So the CS difference isn't that big, and I think ultimately when you have the Nautilus, when you have the Cannon, you do have a decent amount of cover for this Jinx. So as long as he is able to team fight well in the coming minutes when we get closer to these 5v5s, I still think there is a lot of opportunity here for GameWard to make something happen. And speaking of, I like this, they're trying to make something happen on the top side.
Four-man top. I mean, surely one will go down. Doss bites the dust here. Ragnar, Naka, and Yike, though, looking for the collapse.
Oh, flash charge!
Display of talent available, but they still have enough CC between the charm.
The kick!
That sets up for one kill, but a kick!
Oh, here it comes!
Akabane does find the double. And now Melanik will be able to clean up the rest. Ragnar bites the dust as well. Aka cannot salvage the situation on the top side of the map.
Definitely not. LDLC feeling themselves maybe a little too much, Austin. Thinking, overestimating their lead. And what does it mean? Turret plates going top, the first turret of the game as well. That might end up being maybe not the best of choice. It is a nice chunk of gold in your pocket. The problem ends up being now you've gotten Ragnar out of the laning phase, which you're really happy about.
Oh, but the answer from GameWard.
Wow.
Camelius comes in the nick of time, saving Inax, and Dawson Aka, not only they lose out on the Ahri, but the shutdown gold goes over to Inax.
You couldn't be happier. This Jinx, who's going to be your big late game insurance, is just starting to really pick up a good chunk of gold. Got some turret plating in the mid lane as well while everything was happening top. So this is not bad. GameWard now have found themselves in the lead, and we're getting closer and closer to that 15-minute mark, which is the big decider for both these teams. Whoever is ahead at 15 minutes usually wins the game for both of these teams. They have 100% win rate.
Yep. It's super close. 1,000 gold advantage so far to GameWard, but, you know, so far in the past 5 weeks of gameplay in the LFL, in these 10 games, the first round robin, GameWard and LDLC have had always winning games when they're the ones ahead. So now, you know, that might change today,
of course,
depending on how the game plays out, but it's something interesting just to track narratively, as both of these teams are a couple of the few teams that are able to close out games when they have sizable leads.
That's right. Again, a big thing we search for when we're talking about teams in LFL. Wow, Ragnar is just going for the solo bolo, isn't going to get the kill, but forces Melanik to flash, meaning that there isn't exactly a play to be made for Ika and Yike, so they're just going to end up backing up. But ultimately, this is the Gwen that we were highlighting, where it's going to become a problem later on in these team fights. But when we look at GameWard in their burst, Mark, I think if you get a good slicing Maelstrom, you end up bursting many targets. You keep Inax's HP bar relatively high. I don't know if Ragnar's actually going to be able to 1v9 this game. And I think we're seeing it too, especially with how LDLC are looking for some of these fights. Like Yike, for example, you're not playing those bruiser type champions, you're playing an assassin, So you are squishier than you might be used to. This isn't Viego, this isn't Xin Zhao, you're playing Kiana. So if you get caught out by Activate in the 1v1, I mean, we've seen it happen the last couple of times now. You are going to get popped like a balloon. So I think positioning is going to be really important, especially when you have that slicing maelstrom to worry about here on the side of GameWard.
LDLC and GameWard have effectively traded both of their Tier 1 turrets, so a little bit of gold stimulus going into the pockets of both teams. And yes, GameWard found themselves to be the ones ahead at 15 minutes.
That's right.
A lot of damage on the Checolad. I thought something was about to happen. Camilius was waving the wings and he started walking up. I was like,
Yeah, I think there was a bit of a wave, so he probably wasn't going to be able to get the hook there. But it means Checolad's out of lane, basically.
They're rotating over towards the top side of the map. Rift Herald about to spawn once again. This is something that LDLC want to play for. They've locked down Camilius, forced the flash out, exchange for Solar Flare, a teleport now coming in for Checolad, and he has package available. This is dangerous for LDLC.
Yeah, they have to respect this. This is a big cooldown that's available. Almost all 5 members are in the mid lane. Melanik is looking for the flank.
Package comes down on
there's the hook.
DOS. They get locked down, has to flash away, forces the flash out of Checolad. That's a numbers advantage now bought for GameWard in exchange of Checolad's package and summoner spells.
So you do end up getting the Rift Herald, and this is a big deal because even though Checolad is low, you don't commit that slicing maelstrom. A cooldown you're going to have to respect if you're LDLC, so they're going to walk away, use this pressure to just go ahead and take this mid-tier 1 turret, and hopefully they're just going to be able to walk away from this one. And it's worth noting, at the 15-minute mark, GameWard were ahead. It was only a couple hundred gold, but it is worth noting here. So we're going to see if this stat ends up continuing for GameWard and if they're going to be able to take this lead to the end. I mean, when we think about Checolad and how strong he's going to be later on, and Jinx as well, it is going to be a big deal. And we'll see the replay here. DOS finds the angle and tries to get the pick onto Camilius. They've been able to do a good job of doing that so far, but it puts them really deep here and sets up this line here for Checolad to be able to just go in with the package. Any second now, you're going to see him go for it. There it is, and it ends up isolating many members here just so Camilius can get this engaged through. And once Inax gets excited, Mark, you got to walk away.
And it was a good time, too, from Checolad because the wave was pushed in. You already saw the Exa kick and Ika take the long route around. So even if Checolad went in on that play, at most he was putting himself at risk to Ragnar and Yike trying to stun him up with the supreme display of talent, which he was willing to take those odds. Did have to burn the flash in the aftermath. But LDLC, even though they lost out on the Rift Herald, they took out the mid-tier 1 turret, something that GameWard have not done yet. They might look to drop it down in preparation for this upcoming dragon.
Right on schedule, Mark. They're going to be able to pretty easily get this turret here. And once they've guaranteed that, they can just walk up and set up. They already have pink set up on the bottom side of the map. They're going to have an easy time continuing to set it up. Oh, this is nice. Yeah, they're going to get a crash onto the second turret as well, which is really nice for GameWard. And they're starting to pull away in terms of this gold lead again. They're up to about 1,500, and you can see it. The vision is attempting to be cleared by LDLC, but GameWard, they just have the numbers, and they're going to be able to get the bulk of it done. Especially with Ragnar on this top side. I think he shows on that pink ward, so you got to imagine GameWard are going to be feeling very confident about their ability to control this bottom side of the map, especially now that he's showing up.
I think if you're Ragnar, well, never mind. I thought in this situation, LDLC might want to use Ragnar to
stay off the map, right?
Force light, keep Melanik off the map.
Yeah.
However, this dragon is being conceded by GameWard. LDLC gonna pick this up easily. This is gonna put them 2 dragons away from Soul Point. The rest of the members of GameWard taking that time to reset, get back on the map with full inventories of wards for Camilius. Inax also. Look at this. Yeah, I mean, GameWard truly playing the Akabane when they allow him to not only farm out the chicken nuggets, also taking the red buff as well. This is... You'll never catch me doing this because I'm a little more selfish on the jungle pick, but this is a team that is built to play around Inax.
That's right, and I've seen this firsthand. Mark is not joking. He will smite it if you're his AD carry. He's just that kind of guy. He says, hey, listen, man. I know ADC is in your role, but I'm the carry here, so why don't you relax,
I mean,
know your place.
Akabane is 5-1 on the Lee Sin. If that's me, I'm like, yeah, these are my camps. I'm the carry now, dude. But yeah, NX, I don't see you on 5-0 on Jinx. You know, you got one shutdown. Yeah, that was lucky. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, solo queue kind of makes sense, but in team play, yeah, we're giving it to NX. And you can see the TP coming through. Oh man, a lot is about to go down.
It's a 2-on-5 right now. The rest of LDLC have to make quick work. Spirit Rush from Aka allows him to dash out of danger. The Sonic Wave connects. Akabane finds Aka. And now a numbers advantage is there. The supreme display of talent right from Yike, forcing the flash out of Akabane, but he still survives.
Oh, but they're so low. Yike can look for more. He has a lot of damage.
But he's also squishy. Remember what you said?
Oh, that's right.
This is a squishy assassin, and a beautiful super mega death rocket from NX takes him out.
Man, that is a big deal. The HP bars were so high on the side of LDLC, but instead, Yike ends up getting punished for stepping too far forward. Beautiful fight coming through from GameWard, and they just, even though they don't have much pressure in terms of vision on this top side of the map, you're just continuing to further your gold lead. Getting kills on Inax is the best thing you could hope for, and we're going to see a replay here of the TP. They think that they can make the play onto Aka. Ragnar knows this and is coming to help his top laner. The thing is, though, Ika, he goes for the big play, seeing if he can burst Checolad, but because he gets caught by, oh, that's funny looking, gets caught by the supersonic strike, Akabane is easily able to Q2 and take him down. And now we see Yike. I don't know about this one, I guess. Boom.
Yeah, that's I can understand the bloodthirst.
You see the exactly. You see the low health bars, and you're just like licking your lips, like it's looking real good. I think I can get it.
You are an assassin, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I've got so much damage. This should be easy for me to clean up, but when you've already burned Flash and you already burned just Supreme Display of Talent, you have to commit so far forward. You need to wait for your team to be able to make that play, and unfortunately, just a little too aggressive from Yike here, and we've expected a lot of great things. We know that Yike is one of our favorite junglers in this league, has been one of the top performing ones so far in the LFL, but even though this is our first showing of the Kiana, there have been some great moments, and there have been some
moments,
not so great moments so far.
Right, I mean, again, Akabane, another jungler who we do credit as being very strong in this early game. I mean, LDLC, a lot of early game leads to from playing through Aka, but slowly but surely, Akabane was able to find some windows of their own, and in doing so, it's been allowing GameWard to slowly get their way back into this one here. Now, we're satisfying a lot of win conditions on the side of GameWard here. The big thing in these team fights that we got to see from them, if they want to continue winning this out and closing the game, is going to be partially on Melanic here. Because in the 5v5s, especially around objective setups, that slicing Maelstrom is going to be integral to GameWard's success. And since this dragon is coming up soon, you don't want to allow soul points to come through for LDLC. You can see that vision start to come through, so Melanic can play through some of these dark pockets, be in a place that LDLC aren't going to expect. But if he stuns up 2 or 3 with that ultimate, it's over, Mark.
LDLC are the first ones into the pit and into the river, but GameWard have no trouble being able to brute force their way in, as no one can realistically hold the choke point and threaten a fight back. And you do want the members of GameWard to actually funnel into the terrain so that it's easier to get multiple people caught up in the Supreme Display of Talent. And you watching LDLC, the only problem with this is they're giving control of the mid wave and the inside track, and so GameWard, if they want to, they can always threaten to push into the mid turret, which now forces Aka to Ragnar.
Use the okay, he's fine. Still, no Hallowed Mist, which is a big deal. And your point is your point about the mid wave is true. They had to let it go though, just because they don't know where Melanic is. I still don't think they've spotted him. So now's the 50-50. Oh my God, Yike steals it.
Aka not in any danger, should be able to get out fine. Not even needing the Spirit Rush here. And LDLC, there's a moment where they could have formed a pincer, but they take their surefire advantage in stealing the dragon. They're on Soul Point. Super Mega Death Rocket finds a lot of damage on the Yike. Doesn't take him out like last time on the top side of the map. Now GameWard, they have momentum thanks to pushing LDLC away, and they have to translate towards the top side of the map now with vision.
Right, and being able to steal the dragon is such a big deal. Now LDLC are at Mountain Soul Point, and that's going to be a very powerful asset to their team fighting. I mean, having that constant refreshing shield does really neutralize a lot of the poke that Checolad is going to be relying on when it comes to things like wave clear and being able to force people out of, kind of force people away from good positions at objectives here. So next couple of minutes are going to be crucial for LDLC. And on the other side, GameWard, they didn't want to try and actually flip the Baron in that moment there. Now you're seeing Inax pick up the Infinity Edge, so he is in a very, very powerful position. Even has the stopwatch. We have a couple stopwatches here for GameWard, so you got to imagine the Baron is going to be where they make their next stand. They have the majority of the vision there. There's just one pink in the pick there for LDLC, and at this point they're just trying to see if they can find a pick, and if not, they're going to push out this wave, and they should have priority over this top side river, as you can already see how far up Chameleus is moving.
GameWard package is available for Checolad once again.
He has TP.
Checolad taking this time to push out the mid wave. Yeah, and he has TP, so I imagine that when GameWard want to start taking this Baron or the fight for the Baron, he will recall, take the package, TP immediately so that they can threaten to burn it down. But they're setting everything up. They're not rushing steps, which is something I really appreciate from GameWard, knowing that they still have the lead. They're the ones in the driver's seat, and the only thing that they do have to sincerely worry about is the upcoming Soul Point, but that's not for another 3 minutes.
The thing is, though, because they increased the timer between packages, Mark, the fact is Checolad might actually hold on and leave that package up for the Soul fight.
They're going to fight the fight in here. Supreme Display of Talent catches out Inex. He doesn't get any damage out, but he finally looks for one on the DOS, but the flash away prevents Inex from being able to get into the fight. And LDLC have already wiped out Checolad and Chameleus. They find Akabane as well. Inex, can he and Melanik turn this one around? Slicing Maelstrom is still available, but he has to recall. Do they look for a flank angle, or do they forfeit the Baron?
I think you understand. Oh, Inax, what are we doing?
Oh, Inax wanted to find a play on the Exa kick. He saw him a little far forward. TP comes in for Melanik, but it's going to be too late. Maybe he trades one back on to DOS, but the stopwatch being forced out prevents him from finding the finishing blow, and it's an ace for LDLC.
Here's the thing. I was about to say the HP bars are a little too low with Jinx and Kennen alive. I don't know if LDLC were going to be able to actually threaten the Baron, but Inax steps way too far forward, maybe hoping that the recalls were already starting to come through and gets punished. That means it is going to be an easy Baron. It means LDLC are firmly back in control of this game, and you can see it here. They have a good angle for this fight, I think, but watch Yike. Watch the Kiana come through, and also watch the support in DOS. Flash are two major people locked up, and it was layered perfectly with the Solar Flare. It means even with the Flash committed, Checolad, he gets no damage done in this fight, and it's easy for Exakick and the rest to be able to come clean this one up. So it was a beautiful fight from LDLC, and soon we're going to see Inax make that mistake that we were talking about before. Inax actually looking like he wins that 1v1. Fortunately, look who else is here to play. Ragnar, his top laner, picks up the shutdown, and you know the rest.
It's just a little too late for Melanik to come in, because you can understand the mentality and the thought process behind why Melanik wants to recall there. It's like, hey, you know what? If they start up Baron, they can't do it. I still have Slicing Maelstrom, and then we have Jinx to clean up and get resets off of. But Inax, he saw blood in the water. He's like, oh, there's no way. This Aphelios is by himself. No shot, man.
Yeah.
And he goes in, and then, unfortunately for him, Ragnar is still around the bend. Cleans him up, and then the set play is ruined, and now they have found a pick onto Chameleus.
Oh, we're going back?
Immediately.
Oh, the ulti!
Melanik with the beautiful Slicing Maelstrom! All the members have just been eviscerated off of LDLC. GameWard with a huge turnaround.
And with one big pop, you lose the entire value of the Baron you just took. GameWard find themselves back into the game. Mark, you're talking about fighting for terrain and how nice that is for Yike. The thing that's hard about playing the Kiana in this particular match is that terrain suits this Kennen just as much, if not more, because you are not limited by walls. All you need is the enemy to walk through chokes, and Melanik, who wisely held his flash after dying in that last fight, had it to perfectly set up the play here, and there it is. The control LDLC had very suddenly wrested from them here, and GameWard are back in the lead here. And now they're going to continue the push on bottom, on mid, and on top.
Just watch this replay back. You can see that LDLC
Look at
they have
Melanik,
momentum here, and they think, oh, Chameleus just used Dredge Line. He's out. There's no way that he gets out of this one alive. But Melanik,
oh my
what
God.
a sneaky, oh my God.
Dude, you're seeing that as a Kennen player, and you're like, oh my God, this is gonna be so good. It's like that TikTok meme where it's like, no wait, I have to hold it in. They can't know yet. and then, well, Mark, they found out.
Melanik going from the moment that he potentially could have saved Inax, but he died too soon. Gets a redemption moment.
That's right.
Makes up for it. Goes from one slicing maelstrom a little too late to a slicing maelstrom just on time. Melanik turning things around. And now remind me, Beatdown, who was the Kennen player that, I don't think it was Melanik, but we have seen some amazing Kennen plays that have picked up massive multi-kills.
Oh, it was Aggressivu. Pentakill week 1. That was insane. We've seen a lot of Kennen play here. Ragnar himself has actually played it. And this champion, I mean, me and Austin always ask, like, yo, what's up with Kennen? Why did people stop playing it? And I mean, this is just another example of why I think we're right in wondering, because Kennen is very valuable in team fights, and Melanik is reminding us that time and time again. And now what I want to see, too, from LDLC in these team fights, they're at a point in this game where how these fights go for them is execution. We're looking at Corki, we're looking at Jinx. GameWard are in a really strong position. In the standard front to back, Inax is going to rip people to shreds, Mark. But LDLC, that play we saw that got them the Baron, the huge flash engage combo from Yike and DOS, stuff like that is how LDLC come out on top. Being able to isolate carries like Checolad and Inax, because you are that assassin, is the only way LDLC are going to be able to reliably win fights. Because front to back, you're worrying about Kennen, you're worrying about Chameleus on this Nautilus. You have a lot of problems to worry about in the traditional 5v5.
Note here, too, that not only will Inax's summoner spells be available, but also he never burned stopwatch in either of those two fights. He still has it.
He's Bloodthirster, too. 4th item for Jinx. Inax is just fan out of his mind right now. And to be fair, we got stopwatches coming through on the other side as well. Aka and Exakick. So could open more opportunities for the playmaking. We discussed. Hello!
They burned the stopwatch off the Inax. Doxa,
big.
He can walk him down, but
He
it's
needs
an
to
immediate
live.
flash and cleanse. Solar Flare connects. It's a slow
big stun.
display of talent. Will not find him. Inax fires out a Super Mega Death Rocket, but he has to keep his distance, and he won't be in the
Ragnar's
rest of this
going
fight.
big.
Ragnar takes this opportunity to isolate the rest of the members of GameWard in this jungle. They find Melanik. No full tackle will come around this time. The GA will be popped on Akabane, and a beautiful flank from Aka is what sets this all off, and LDLC might take this advantage into the base.
What did I say? It's about isolating the carries, Mark, and Aka did that beautifully, invalidating Inax's ability to participate in any of these fights. And what now with this Baron coming up very shortly, with their Dragon Soul coming up in a minute, LDLC again in this back and forth game find themselves in the lead off some beautiful team fighting.
Something that we didn't get to see come to fruition until now. Aka had been pushing out through the bottom lane so much, a majority of the game was looking for vision, looking for ways to find flanks, and he finally finds it in what could have been the darkest hour for LDLC.
Oh my God,
he sneaks behind vision line, and then it's just an easy sight onto Inax. The fact that Inax does survive is honestly a miracle for GameWard, because it could have been more than the Baron.
That's right, and ultimately you can see the rest of this one go through too, because it allows this fight to be spaced out. Look at Checolad too. Props to DOS for being able to just CC him, make sure he can't get the damage out, and making it so that everyone on the side of LDLC gets to walk away from this one. And one thing, Mark, that we didn't really get to highlight just yet when we talk about team fighting, LDLC and how good they have been at it, how good they are at playing behind. And I think it was week 2 They were 6,000 gold down against Gamers Origin, but from some great team fighting, managed to pull out a win against them. And we're seeing stuff like that come again today here. And LDLC probably going to let go of this dragon, but I think they are okay with that, all things considered. But the next one, the next Mountain Dragon, Mark, is going to be the last one. It's going to be Soul for either team.
The package coming for Shekolad in that time window was such a nice relief for GameWard. Oh, does Shekolad just try to isolate them off here? Not quite. Just poking them out. Thinking about it on an exit kick, had he landed that big rocket, maybe he thinks about going for a play just to force out summoner spells. They have a huge push into the mid lane. Package has been exhausted. Melanick on the other side of the map cannot join. No teleport available, and LDLC, if they can pincer them off, if they can cut them off right here, get the routing, they will have a guaranteed numbers advantage because Melanick cannot join the fight. He's recalling, so he's going to be extremely far away. But LDLC, they're just pushing them through the remnants of the topside jungle. They will have the inside track for the mid wave, and they still have Baron Wave to push.
Yeah, and that's the big thing. That's why you're seeing the recalls come through. GameWard wisely just walking to the top of the map and going for the reset. No tier 2, it's already gone. So LDLC can't really do any more damage just yet, but with this bot wave coming up here, they can make a play for this bot tier 2. You got to imagine you're seeing the pings come through, the assist pings to look for vision, just to make sure LDLC, players like Ica specifically, aren't sitting in some really odd places. And with all the red wards on this bottom side of the jungle, it's very, very likely here. So you have to be careful, especially with what happened to Inax previously here. And you're seeing the goal charts, which shows us just what kind of game it's been, Mark. Back and forth, just leads keep changing hands.
Both LDLC and GamersWard fighting for control of this game, for momentum. And it's so volatile because both of these teams have such explosive ways to start a team. Unfortunately, that's not it. Melanick pops the stopwatch, exit kick.
No flash.
Already used the Gale Force, and no flash out of Kennen either. Still has Slicing Maelstrom available. We'll have to rely on Protobelt or a teleport flank to get into the back line.
That is going to be, that's pretty hurtful. I'm not going to lie. Really nice of exit kick to be able to force out that summoner because Melanick, like you said, won't have that flash engage, but Chameleus!
Okay, Yike pops the stopwatch, dodges out on the rest of the damage coming through. Chameleus pops his own stopwatch. Doss in the front lines here. So Melanick, can he get into the back line? Slicing Maelstrom only hits relatively one, and Ragnar cancels it out with a beautiful Howl to miss. Then good night, Melanick. Exit kick. Looks for the gravitum reset. Oh my god, they lock down Akaban. They take him out, and this minion wave is small, but LDLC, they feel confident that they take the game right here, right now.
Look at the damage. It's tough. Inax is still a 5, potentially 6 item Jinx, so it's going to be a little difficult here. Has the cleanse to play with no flash. It's going to be tough. If they want a chance to save the game, it's going to be here.
It's all damage, but no frontline for GameWard. That's huge. They take out 2. Inax has to burst through them all, but Aka with the flash forward. LDLC, they will take down GamersWard.
And there we have it. GameWard will lose.